injuries.
All right, I was putting it off as long as possible because, truth be told, this is going to suck talking about this all year, but here we go. Bronny and LeBron, that is the story that will be this season. First time, you guys know, in NBA history, it's a father-son duo on the same team. Do we see, well, I don't know, let's start with you, Lou. How is this going to play out? Are we going to actually see them playing together?
I think you get a couple opportunities. You know, other than that, I see Bronny, he's going to spend a lot of his time in the G League. You know, that he's going to need that experience. That's why they gave him a 4-year deal, give him an opportunity to get a lot of reps, get a lot of minutes in down there with the G League team, and also have some opportunities with the Lakers group as well. You know, if you look at that, you look at their roster right now, there's going to be an opportunity for him to be on that opening day roster and have an opportunity if some injuries come up that he'll get an opportunity to play. So I don't see this as a big distraction or anything. It should be an exciting time for Bronny and LeBron as well. You know, going into season 21, he's calling this his primetime season. What distractions? Everything comes with LeBron James, you know, so I think this is no different. This should be an exciting season for him.
Yeah, and also, with no Shams here, I feel like we're going to all be obligated to break some news here. I heard that they're just going to play him opening night, get it over with, and which I think is smart.
Which is smart.
You just avoid this media, avoid this media circus, avoid all the hoopla of when it's going to happen, where it's going to happen. Play them together opening night, and then like Lou said, this is a project. Bronny is going to have some time to develop, and we can nitpick all we want and say he doesn't deserve it or how did he get here, but at the end of the day, I'm going to get my first F-bomb out too. It's fucking awesome that his son gets to play with his dad. Like, that is cool. It's never happened before. It is history. So we can nitpick all we want. We can say he doesn't deserve it. There's other kids that deserve it. It doesn't matter because that's all in the past. He's here. He's on the Lakers. And from everything I heard, the kid's a great kid too. And he's going to work hard. So who knows if he makes it? Who knows if he's actually going to be a valuable piece? But to have that happen this year is really, really cool, no matter how you look at it.
I mean, I'm looking at it. I don't think it's that cool, but...
But you know, my question, too, is, like, if we had that kind of juice and power like LeBron, I would do the same goddamn thing. I would do the same thing.
Well, would you? I mean, you wouldn't pass. If there was even a 10% chance that your kid could play with it, you would, of course, you would take it.
1,000%, I would use my leverage, I would use my juice, and I would do the same exact things LeBron. So it's hard to knock him for doing that when we would all do the same exact thing. Now, again, is he good enough? That time will tell.
But if you're another guy on the team, like anybody else, lower down the totem pole, is this going to be an issue for you?
No, you're on a team. Okay. And everybody has an opportunity to come in, training camp, and compete. Nothing is given at that point. Nothing is given at that point. He has an opportunity to go out, compete, take a job, or lose a job. And those guys have the same opportunity. So if you're Gabe Vincent, you're not looking at Bronny James as somebody that's trying to come in and take my spot. No, that's your teammate. That's my running mate, and it's my job as a veteran to string along a guy like a Bronny James to make sure he understands that outside of your father, this is how we work. This is the camaraderie that we build. This is what we do in the locker room. Instead
What's
of him
that
being
like on the road and stuff?
There's going to be a weird dynamic a little bit on the buses and in the locker room where you're going to watch what you say a little bit around Bronny because you know it's probably going to get back. But these guys also, they have their own relationships. They have their own bonds. You're in the trenches together. So at the end of the day, they are teammates. They are going to go through a lot of stuff together. And yeah, it is a different dynamic because you're talking about the guy on the team and arguably the 15th, 16th, man on the team. So it's not like it's going to come to, crazy situation where you're going to have to choose or it's going to be like, he's a good kid. There's not going to be any beef. I was talking about earlier, I think it's more strange like back in the day when Austin Rivers played for his dad.
Okay.
That to me is way different.
Why?
It was a little interesting.
Because a player is always going to feel some way about the coach. You snubbed me. You subbed me out too early.
Well, clearly they
3 minutes to go on the bench. He looks down the bench and he picks Austin to go in instead of me. I'm going to feel a little slighted. I can't help but think that's favoritism. So that to me is weirder than Bronny and Bron playing together.
But once you're in that scenario though, you also have to realize Austin Rivers is a real deal pro, right?
Yeah.
So him going into a game isn't something that he was given. It was earned, right? So I was actually a part of that. I played with Austin, and Doc was the coach, and Austin made it very clear, look, that's my dad, but you guys are my teammates, and that's where we draw the line. So you don't have to worry about me saying anything. And you got to understand, we're talking about grown men. Yes, that's your dad, but who runs home and gossips to their dad as a grown man at this point in your life? You understand what I'm saying? So when you have that dynamic, it's a little strange, it's a little weird, But I thought Austin did a great job of separating himself from a lot of the hoopla. Bronny is probably going to do the same thing.
What we can't do is discredit the kid just because their father is in a role either.
That is human nature, though.
Absolutely.
We live in the Nepo baby world, so.
Could Dalton Connect right now feel a little slighted that more people are talking about Bronny than him? But again, that's just emotion. That's just sensitivity. That has nothing to do with his work ethic and his season that he's going to have this year. Do not get caught up in that. It's already the Lakers. They're already going to be ran through the media. JJ Redick, new coach, LeBron James, Anthony Davis. Can they make the playoffs? And then they throw in this whole dynamic with the father-son. You have to block that out. You have to be a professional, and you have to just carry on business as usual.
Yeah, once this season starts, I think that's going to be the last thing.
If that ball goes up, no one's going to care.
Especially after opening night, they share the court together. After that, it's going to be business as usual.
And then if the Lakers lose or win opening night, they're going to be talking about that. Then there's going to be a new story. So just you can't get caught up in this, but it's never happened before, so it's interesting.
By the way, LeBron at the Olympics was something else. Like I feel like just if you thought,
Captain
maybe he's
America.
going to fizzle out a little bit. No, between he and Steph Curry, I mean, there's got to be more motivation now. Your kid's there. Like, I don't know that. Here's the thing. I don't know that you can motivate LeBron James more. I mean, he is motivated.
Well, I was watching their new show, Starting Five, and he was saying he's surprised with himself. He's surprised that he's still playing at such a high level. His body in such great shape. He feels great going into season 21. Listen, as old as he is, we can say whatever we want. We still have an expectation level for LeBron
100%.
James that speaks volumes to the work that he's been able to put in over 2 decades of basketball.
Did I think, though, watching the Team USA this summer that I would watch the game and be like, damn, LeBron's the best player? I didn't think I was going to say that. I said that pretty much every single game. This guy looked at the top of his game. He looked healthy. He looked strong. He looked unbelievable. And the Lakers, the cold, hard truth is the Lakers need him to be that this season to have any sort of chance. So it is impressive. Does LeBron have anything to prove at all to anybody at this point of his career?
Absolutely
no.
not.
No.
No chance in hell. He's already solidified himself as the best or the second best. So that's a debate we're probably going to have 10 more times this year.
Well, we got 4 more days.
Yeah, I think having his son right there, that's got to be such a pride moment for him every single night in that locker room when he sees both of them put his jersey on. It's really cool.
If Bronny gets heckled, and he should, if NBA fans out there are doing their jobs right, on the road, Bronny should be heckled when he is with the Lakers. Is there a chance we see LeBron turn and defend his kid? Because I kind of live for that if it does happen.
I don't see a scenario where somebody's messing with my son in any place that I don't have anything to say.
That's what I'm saying.
But again, it's the same thing, though. They're all teammates, right? So I know there's that, obviously, father-son relationship. But if someone talks shit to any of my teammates, I'm going to try and have their back. Probably more so my son, though, yes.
Yeah, that would be. We'll see who the first fan is that tries to do it. There was also big news, of course, on the other side of the country with the Knicks getting Karl Anthony-Towns and Michelle Bridges. This was big-time news out in New York. What does this do? Look, this team had such a run. They're sort of that feel-good team. But now I think the expectations might be a bit higher, Lou. Does the addition of these two do anything for you as far as contenders?
It gives the East a new look, I'll tell you that much. I still like Boston as the front runner. I'll say that on the first show. I still believe in what Boston's been able to accomplish, being a championship team, coming back. And you've never seen a championship team come back more pissed off after winning the championship. So I still think they're the top dogs. But, man, adding Karl Anthony-Towns and adding Michelle Bridges to that group, that puts the Knicks in a very great position to be top contenders coming out of the East to battle with those guys.
Still looks weird.
I think on paper, this team is scary. I mean, you can't discredit, again, the Celtics. They are the champs till knocked off, you know what I mean? So they have an unbelievable starting five. And who knows who the Knicks actually start? Are they going to start, Brunson, Hart, OG, Bridges, and Towns? Are they going to bring a Hart off the bench? We're going to see their rotations and what they do, but on paper, this fits. On paper, this looks better as an offensive fit with Towns than Julius Randle. Julius Randle was great. He had a hell of a stint there. People like to shit on him for whatever reason. He had a great stint there. He's an all-star. He kind of brought the excitement back to Knicks. And then Jalen Brunson's kind of even put that on steroids. But Towns, the way he plays, picks and pops, shoots threes, spaces the floor, I think offensively that is going to be a much better fit. And then to have those two guys, OG and Michelle Bridges on the wing defensively with their length and their versatility, they are tough. Now, they got a lot better this year. The depth is my only concern.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that, and we'll get back to Bridges and Towns, is the idea of Julius Randle being gone. Personally, I think Hartenstein being gone is a big deal for them height-wise. And the spirit of Dante DiVincenzo, who we saw, if you guys watched any of that preseason game last night, he was He was talking, and I was here for it.
Well, we didn't watch any preseason basketball.
Yeah.
How dare you?
But obviously we got the news, and it was interesting to see the little mix-up. And it's a lot of emotions still running high. You know, obviously that's somewhere that he wanted to be, and he was a part of that culture. And so, you know, this makes for a good home and home with the Minnesota Timberwolves and the New York Knicks when they see each other in the regular season.
And you hear the rumors that, you know, he wasn't on board with the whole Villanova,
How could you not be?
and because, you know, it's interesting, just because you played college with somebody doesn't mean you have to be friends with them and stay close to them through your NBA career. This just kind of answers all my questions I had about that, whether that was true or not. Obviously, there's some sort of animosity here.
But it's just with Rick Brunson. It's not with anyone.
Yeah, you see him do the GQ things in the podcast with the boys, so I don't think there's any beef there. Now, again,
what's that about?
When you get traded, you move, you do slightly feel a little slated. Like Klay Thompson feels a certain way about going back to Golden State. He's going to feel a certain way.
And you always feel like there's somebody responsible for that.
And is it Rick Brunson?
So this opens up the floodgates for people to say, well, when he's over there yelling, this is what happens when they let you run the show. Yeah. And you're going back and forth with Rick Brunson. This is interesting.
But then he's chirping at Tibbs, too, saying he can't finish. So there's definitely, obviously, things happen in his Knicks career where he hasn't gotten over yet. Now,
he's such a fan favorite, and I say this just being like sort of addicted to Knicks Twitter and all that. The Julius Randle leaving was like, okay, it almost felt like that was sort of inevitable. Dante DiVincenzo leaving seemed to hurt Knicks fans much more.
And I can argue that losing DiVincenzo and Hartenstein hurts them more than Julius Randle, for sure, because that gives, again, the depth, the size, the playmaking, and the pick and roll that Hartenstein would do. Now with Mitchell Robinson, his health, he's always kind of banged up, so that is a huge hole for them. And then again, offensively, when you plug in Karl Anthony-Towns, who's a self-proclaimed greatest big shooter of all time. He's going to have so much opportunity with the way Jalen Brunson gets downhill, the way those guys can space the floor on the wings and get out in transition. Towns is going to have a lot of wide open looks. He's going to have space to create. So I do think offensively this team looks better. And defensively, it's hard to say they got worse when they have OG and Bridges. Bridges is probably the top three best two-way player in the NBA. They don't make him like him anymore. So Bridges,
and he's so happy to be there.
Bridges, he's not gonna complain about shots. He's not gonna go and force bad shots. He plays within the offense. Mikal Bridges is an absolute stud. So I think adding him is even more important than adding Towns. But losing DiVincenzo and Hartenstein, there is a depth hole there. Where look at their bench. They have Deuce McBride, Precious.
They got
like TJ Warren. So we're gonna have to see who kind of develops in that
some good pieces.
7th, 8th man.
If you can get some good minutes out of
Deuce had some.
Listen,
he had huge playoffs.
Deuce McBride, huge run. And if you can get TJ Warren to be healthy and be a glimpse of himself, that answers your depth right there.
Is this still Jalen Brunson's team?
Absolutely.
I mean, who else would it be?
What Jalen Brunson did last year, reviving that whole city and MSG and the Knicks, he gave them hope. He gave them excitement.
Is that a pay cut?
Well, technically it wasn't
anything over 100 in.
Is that when he was like, I'm not going to take max, I take like $1 million less.
Look, I know about pay cuts, and that is a pay cut, if I ever saw one. That is a big one.
I'm not a big pay cut guy.
I hate you so much. Despise Chandler so much.
It's not really my thing.
Yeah, we know.
But no, this is Jalen Brunson's team. I don't care how good Towns is, how good Bridges is. This what he did last year has gave him so much. They gave him wiggle room to kind of take a foot off the gas if he has to this year. Like it does not matter. He runs New York. He runs MSG. This is Jalen Brunson's team.
It's going to be fun. The health thing, that's every team in the league's issue moving forward. And on that, we move to the Sixers, speaking of health. Paul George, he felt very disrespected out here in LA by the Clippers offer. So he decided, I'm going to move east, and I'm going to go to Philadelphia. That was a big one. Mm-hmm. Lou, what does this do for Philly? What does it do for you in your mind?
It gives them a great opportunity to be one of those teams that's going to contend along with the Knicks, the Milwaukee Bucks of the world. And, you know, you look at Paul George, I seen somewhere where he said, you know, I played more games than Kawhi. I was present more. I was available more. Why am I fighting to get paid the same amount of money? And that's true. You know, when we were teammates, they were packaged as the 1-2 punch. You know, they were packaged as the co-captains, the co-leaders, the co-superstars of this team. I have no idea why they were fighting the opportunity to pay him and have a chance to still keep the big three together. And so him moving east, I think this is a great season for him, and it's a great opportunity for him to you know, prove itself again at whatever level that needs to be done. I think Paul is going to give Joel Embiid and Maxey that third superstar, that third guy that can make shots, that can take over games when they can't.
Yeah,
hell of a big three.
I love Paul George. He's the original Bridges. He is that 3-and-D guy that actually even transformed his game so much into an offensive superstar. This has nothing. Philly's season has nothing to do with Paul George. It has everything to do with Joel Embiid and his health. And he's a guy where you always kind of have to hold your breath because of the history he's had. So when Joel is healthy, we've seen it. The MVP. He's the best. Why are you doing this? He is arguably the best player in the NBA. He's the most dominant player in the NBA. Him and Jokic just kind of back and forth. It's just his health. Can he stay healthy? And that's the question I just do not know the answer to.
I'm excited to see Maxey more than anything.
Yeah, because
I think he's going to be the guy that benefits from Paul George being there. You know, you're going to open up. They can't help off of him. Paul George is going to be one of those guys that can play one-on-one basketball, that can get him a bucket with a low shot clock. And with that opens up lanes for Maxey, and you got the big guy on the other block. I think Maxey is going to be the guy that benefits with the presence of Paul George being there.
He already is a dude who's been elevating each time, so it's kind of crazy to think about that.
And this is a team too where it's the media. We're already going to try and do it. You know, who's the one option? Who's the two option? You know what I mean?
Who's Batman? Who's Robin?
It doesn't matter when you have a team like it's like Phoenix when it was with Beal and KD and Booker. It's like with the Clipper team with James and Kawhi. But it doesn't matter because when you're so star loaded like this on the big three, it's going to be someone different's night every single night. So it doesn't matter. I think obviously Joel is the most dominant, best player on this team. But then any given night, PG can go off for 40, Maxey can go off for 40. Your guy Oubre, is he still on the Sixers?
Well, he's very handsome.
Yeah, he can go. So like it's going to be someone different when you have star power like.
And this is a great scenario for Paul George. You know, when you're in the Los Angeles Clippers and everything is being touted as a 2-1-3 and a homecoming. When you go out to Philadelphia and you have Joel and you have Maxey and they've already declared this as their team, and you come in your 15th season as Paul George, there's no pressure on you. It's just go out, hoop, do the best that you can be. There's no, there's going to be an expectation level, obviously, on him. But like Chandler just mentioned, it's going to be on Joel Embiid, it's going to be on Maxey, and anything that Paul George can do for the city of Philadelphia is going to be a cherry.
Is the least amount of pressure on Maxey, though, now? Because they have Joel, who's the MVP. They have Paul George, who's proven. It's almost like Maxey can't lose here. Yeah, like, I mean, he's not going to take, if they suck, it's going to be Paul or Joel's fault. It's not going to be Max. So it's kind of a perfect spot.
Got your money,
I think it's a great spot for both of them.
Yeah.
I think the only person that's really going to have a spotlight on them if they fall short is going to be Joel Embiid.
And here's the thing, too, is the minute he goes down with any injury, small, minor, whatever, if it's in, we're going to have to start talking about, well, should you have played in the Olympics? We're going to second guess everything that he's done.
Which, again, even talking about that, he wasn't healthy in the Olympics.
He was not.
You go watch that. He didn't play a lot of minutes, and fans were kind of all over him that. I think it meant more for him to go and play for his country, to play for where his son was born, to...
Beadle.
to go and do that for Team USA and power through it. But to me, he didn't look very healthy in the Olympics.
I thought he was going to play for France.
So let's not be confused when he's missing preseason when he just did that this summer.
But you know how this will go. Because right now it's like, it's preseason, who cares? But it's coming.
I do know how it's going to go.
It's coming. Eastern Conference, where are we putting them?
I mean, you got to put the Boston Celtics at the top, and I think the Knicks, are going to be at the 2 spot. I think they're right there. Again, barring Joel's health, I think they're kind of right there in that mix. You know, with Milwaukee, with Indy. It's kind of wide open after those top 2 teams.
I put them in the middle of the pack. Yeah. I think Boston is going to be there. I think the Knicks are going to be there. Milwaukee is going to be a better team than they were last year. And then that puts them right there in that 4 or 5 spot. You got Indiana that's going to come back, reloaded, a little bit more hungry. So I feel really good about those.
It's funny, like Milwaukee's like a team that I feel like no one's talking about. Like, they have Giannis and Damian Lillard, and yet we still aren't talking because this big 3 in Philly and the Knicks big splashes with the big moves. It's like Milwaukee is still extremely dangerous.
It's funny too because hearing the love for the Knicks almost makes it feel very uncomfortable. Like, I think they prefer to be sort of underdog, gritty. Don't talk about them, but here we are. He got his, and then 2 spot. Let's just talk Clippers for a half second here because there was a moment in time where it was all about, we're going to put banners in the new building. It's going to be great. We got Kawhi, James Harden, Paul George, and now none of that's happening. The Clippers project, Lou, we'll call it that. Has this been a failure?
Shoo. Well, you know I was a part of it, Beadle. So.
That's why I went to you first, Lou.
Once you retired, those shit.
Yeah, once you retired, I feel like it got garbage.
it's fair to say they fell short.
Yeah, okay.
You know, it's fair to say that we fell short. You know, we didn't put a banner up, didn't have an opportunity to do that, and we haven't made deep playoff runs. And I still say we because, like I said, that process started when I was a part of it. To present date, you know, you have a Kawhi Leonard that's still battling some issues with his knee. You have an aging James Harden. You got a lot of challenges ahead. You know, some bright spots. Zubac is getting better. Terrence Mann is getting better. You have, you know,
Zucci Man?
Zucci Man is getting better. He just got paid. And like I said, and Terrence Mann is coming into his own as one of those guys that can be this third or fourth best player on his basketball team. And so, have they fell short in some aspects? Absolutely. I still think there's a window there for them to be competitive in the West.
My confusion with them is they know that these guys are in their prime, right? Their window is now. And you look at the landscape of the Western Conference, if they do re-sign a Paul George, which they could have.
They could have.
They're right there again, and at least they're going into this new arena with some buzz, with some juice that we can compete.
Well, I don't know, man, because, again, is Kawhi Leonard gonna? Is he
gonna be healthy? Is he gonna play? I'm just saying, when
find an answer to that,
if
I
you
would
go
bet
into this
everything.
season with Paul George, James Harden, and Kawhi Leonard, you at least have some hope that you're gonna compete.
They had a
you're
run.
gonna win.
There was a little run last year.
I think right now it's let's get to the playoffs and let's see what can happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's a different kind of expectation when you lose a guy like Paul George, especially all we talked about all year long. You got to have the star power going in this new arena. The new arena is insane.
By the way, how good is it?
It's
amazing.
bananas.
Can't wait.
And now you let Paul George just walk over some money that you have. Like, it's like that to me just didn't make sense. They had a chance to sign a Paul George and have this team kind of run it back, and they didn't. And now they're gonna struggle because of it.
And you sent a pissed off Paul George into the league, which is, I think, scary.
Into a
for
team
everyone
now
else.
that's better than you.
Yeah.
But at least it's a different conference. Yeah.
The chip on his shoulder. All right, we got to take a quick break here. When we come back, CP3 is a Spur. Can he help Wemby be the greatest Wemby of all time? We'll talk that next. Run it back.
God,
Run it up, run it back, run it up, run it back, run it up, run it back, run it up, run it back.
All right, a lot happened since we saw each other last. So the Thunder, you could argue, made some of the best moves around. You got your Caruso, you got your Hartenstein. OKC was already damn good. Should they be considered, this is crazy, top team in the West?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
It's
Lou, they should. And you know why? Because they have a star in SGA. They have two budding stars, Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren. And when you have that infrastructure already and you have the pieces around them like the Isaiah Joes, the Dorts, all they lost was Josh Giddey, and they gain Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein, who couldn't be more perfect role players for this team. They're vets. They know their position. They know how to play. Hartenstein, that pick and roll, knows how to make the little pocket pass.
Also see him shooting a little more in the preseason.
He knocked down a corner three now. Caruso, the way he defends, the way he plays tough, he's not going to demand the ball. These guys are perfect fits to play off these young, budding stars. They damn near were the best team in the West last year.
Exactly.
They did. And my MVP, we're going to get there. It's not
No,
SGA. It's not
at
SGA.
that.
It's not SGA.
Wait,
It's
what?
not SGA.
Oh, my God.
But this team is for real. They have a great young coach. They're set up for the future. Couldn't be better. They lost nobody, but they lost Josh Giddey. And that's
crazy.
it. And they've gained two excellent role players. This is the best team in the Western Conference.
Welcome aboard, Chandler.
Thank you.
I was trying to get you to understand what SGA meant to this Western Conference and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now that they've added some depth, I think they're going to be one of those teams that's going to move the needle in the West in their direction. But you also got Dallas adding Klay Thompson that makes them more dangerous. And a team that we're not talking about, Sacramento Kings, adding DeMar DeRozan. You know, you have two guys that should have been all-stars, should have been first, second, third all-NBA teams that didn't happen in Sabonis and my guy Fox. And then you add DeMar DeRozan to that. I think they're going to be contenders as well.
I just think the Thunder, I think they're you saw how good they were in the regular season last year, too. And we always were worried about their youth and how they're going to translate in the postseason. But this is a team that is built to play 10, 11, 12 guys. It's insane what they do. I think they're going to landslide be the #1 seed this year.
Yeah, we'll get to predictions later, but Mama's already put some money on them about a month and a half ago.
Really?
Yeah, I feel OKC is going to be a.
I like it.
That's a good bet.
I like
That's a good bet.
a lot.
Thank you. I agree with that. SGA was runner-up in MVP voting. Is this? And Lou had him as the MVP like on this day last year, basically.
I think he's back. I think he's back. I think he's going to put himself in that conversation along with, you know, the Joel Embiids, the Jokic's of the world. What's my man name?
Luka?
Luka. Drawing a blank, but I think this is the year that he makes it happen.
Are we talking MVP right now?
I mean, you can.
I love SGA.
Who's your MVP pick?
I think the best team, I think the best chance to win this year is the Boston Celtics. And I think Jason Tatum has so much to prove after what he went through at Team USA, all this talk about who's the best player. Somehow they won. Think about this year. He won an NBA championship and he won a gold medal. And they're still kind of like shitting on him, making it seem like, you know, he's an issue and he's not that guy. I think Tatum has the biggest year of his career this year, and I think the Boston Celtics win it all, and I think he's the MVP. Sorry if I just blew the last block of the show.
You did. It's like you don't care about the show or any of the formatting.
But
Conrad, thanks for doing all that work.
I think SGA is fantastic. I do like Luka, too, as a little
Is he going to be runner-up
here.
again, then? I don't think he wants to be runner-up.
It's going to be hard
Look at him.
What's with the new board, Beadle, that you...
Here's the problem.
I just love it. I love looking at
Here's the problem. They're going to be so good and their record's going to be unbelievable where he's going to have a real chance to win it. I think Tatum is on this revenge tour this year where he's going to go.
I don't see Jason Tatum as a revenge guy. I see Jaylen Brown as a revenge guy. And he's also...
Those are the guys that you should be worried about, that you don't see coming.
But I don't...
That's who you should be concerned with.
He's not scary to me.
And that's perfect for him. That's perfect for him. He's one of those guys that's going to sneak up on you and have a great season. And Jaylen Brown is going to be one of those guys. He's going to tell you, I'm pissed off. I'm not happy with how things are going. And that's what makes them such a dangerous 1-2 punch. But is SGA a top 5 player in the league besides that? Absolutely.
Yes. Can I go rogue here for a second, too? This whole Jason Tatum Olympic thing. Wouldn't you... First of all, if you were Jason Tatum, too, you'd be pissed.
You'd be embarrassed,
You'd be like... So if I'm
gonna stay home.
Are you pissed or embarrassed?
So if I'm Colangelo, whoever's running Team USA now, I would rather bring a Cooper Flag and someone just to do some. If you're not going to play him anyways, why bring a superstar coming off an NBA championship just to play his role teammates more than him? Like I would be pissed too. So if you're going to do that, which clearly there was no dialogue, that was the plan because Jason Tatum was visibly upset. I'd rather than bring a Cooper Flag. I'd rather than bring one of these young guys, a Chet, someone like that can literally just get the experience and the confidence of being on Team USA than to literally publicly just embarrass Jason Tatum. I thought that was so stupid.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a good
I thought it was
look.
wrong. I thought it was dumb. And I think Jason Tatum has every right to be pissed off.
Well, that might be his motivating factor for the rest of the thing. By the way, this was a Thunder segment. That's why I keep looking back.
I tried to bring it back.
I
tried to bring it back.
You gave me the green light on the MVP.
I didn't realize you meant like for an hour. Here's the thing, and here's what's very scary about this Thunder team. Sam Presti, you're a god amongst men. 5 first-round draft picks in the 2025 NBA draft. That's what they could potentially have. So, Lou, they could get anher star, which is shocking.
I don't know if they need one though.
But why wouldn't you try? And I don't even know how you do the format here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What do you add?
They needed a big, they got Hardenstein.
Yeah,
they needed a role player, they got Caruso.
Absolutely. You've addressed everything that you said that you had in weaknesses. You've addressed those things and bringing in those 2 guys.
There's nothing else to...
I think you sit, you wait for maybe an injury, and then you can always have an option to upgrade your roster. But, I mean, they could not be in a better spot. It's crazy.
It is.
They have like Isaiah Joe. They just lock him up. Like they have shooting. They have depth. They have literally everything.
This is what happens when you hoard picks this way, and they did it in such a good way. Shut up. They did it in such a good way. It's a real word. You put a D on it. Old faces.
Put a D on what?
Hoard. God, we have to go to CP3. Do we though? All right, here are the old faces, new places, and it is quite the. It's actually a monster list.
It's weird.
First, Chris Paul in San Antonio. It is weird. Klay Thompson in Dallas, DeMar you mentioned in Sacramento, and Russell Westbrook with the Nuggets. Let's start with, I guess, Chris Paul, who's now down in San Antonio for my favorite team in the world, and going to be teamed up with Wemby, which should be interesting.
Well, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, what's your take?
I've come to terms. Like, there's no secret. He's probably one of my least favorite players as a fan of the NBA.
Is that no secret?
But now, as you sit with a Paul on a Spurs jersey, do you still hate him?
It's weird. It's weird. Look, I speak
all
for a
these
lot
jerseys in my head right now look so weird
They're
seeing that
so
name on that team.
Even just Cat in the Knicks uniform yesterday.
It's
it's all very weird. I think the Klay Thompson one might be the weirdest for me to see. But if you look up here, who do you think's going to have the biggest impact?
I think it's DeMar DeRozan.
Really? Okay.
I think first of all, I think he's these players, he's the most in his prime. He can still go get you 30, 35 points. I think he's a perfect fit with Fox, with Sabonis. Their team is going to be kind of a middle-of-the-pack team, low expectations. Klay, I wish it was Klay. I wish him nothing but the best. I hate that he's not on the Warriors. I hate that they didn't make it work somehow, some way. But I think he personally has a lot of the most to prove. Chris Paul's just there basically to be another coach, another vet, a leader. Russ is going to play spot minutes, 15, 20 minutes a game, hustle, defend. He's going to have his role there with a great team. DeMar DeRozan still has game. DeMar DeRozan could be an all-star on the Kings this year. None of those other guys will be an all-star.
It's a mix for me. It's going to be DeMar and it's going to be Klay as well. Obviously, DeMar, we know what he brings to the table, and like Chandler mentioned, he's still in his prime. He's still got a lot of really, really high-level basketball left in this system, and you add him with Sabonis and my man Fox and everything that they've been able to do over there in Sacramento. Without him, and you add a guy like that to the mix, that makes the Western Conference very interesting to me. But also Klay Thompson, you know, with adding him to Kyrie and Luka, putting him in a position to open up that floor for those guys to be able to create and do the things they want to do, get in the paint. And when that paint collapses, you kick it out to a Klay Thompson, who's a bona fide shooter in this league. Come on, man. I think that gives both of these teams great.
I hope it's that Klay that is back.
Me too. And if you're Dallas and you have arguably the best two one-on-one players, and then you add arguably the second best shooter of all time, it makes so much sense that it has to work. He makes 43 to 46% of his threes. That makes the Dallas Mavericks exponentially better, because you can't double team Luka and Kyrie. You can't pack the paint on Luka and Kyrie because they have literally Klay Thompson there that's just going to snipe you all game long. So that, if he's healthy, is a great pickup.
That's the Klay I think everybody wants to see. You mentioned the Kings middle of the pack, so not a threat in the West?
A threat? I mean, no. Like, do I think they're going in there with championship aspirations? Sure, like early on, but like, do they actually think they have enough deep down? I don't think so. I do think they have a great team. I think they have a great coach. I think they're building something there. I think adding DeMar makes them better, but a championship? Like, no.
I mean, on paper, this can go a lot of ways in the Western Conference. On paper, I like Dallas. I like OKC. I like Phoenix coming back with their big three.
Me
you know,
too.
And so once you start talking about those three teams,
so now you're already at 4.
You're already at 4. Obviously, you got to consider the Denver Nuggets anytime you have Jokic and Jamal Murray and you add a Russell Westbrook to that. You have to consider those guys. It hadn't been a long time since they've been a championship caliber basketball team. I think they're still right there in the mix. And you got Dallas, and you know, that's 5 or 6 teams. That puts them
6 now.
Yeah, but it said Minnesota, who's
Seven.
Right. Preseason-wise, they're right there.
Spots.
A contender, no way. But they'll compete, and they're vets. Like, it's not going to be one of these rebuilding teams. You look at kind of both conferences. You either have teams that think you can make that playoff play-in spot, or you have teams that are going to tank. And there's really good teams, and there's really bad
draft,
teams. There's
right?
no middle class in the NBA this year. It is really good, really bad. So they see this great white hope coming out there, and who can get it with Cooper Flag. So
Well, what do you do if you're like your Sacramento Kings? I feel really good about my team.
You're going to be right there with the 11th pick in the draft this year and get someone that's not going to play next year. It's a tough spot to be in, but it's kind of where they are.
That is a bummer that the draft's good, so the tanking will be in effect.
Is the draft good, or is there
decent.
one really good player out there?
By all accounts, by people much smarter than I, it's a decent
Probably
draft.
better
Like
than
last year was horrible.
Yeah, it's probably better than this year's,
Yeah, so
no offense.
instead of one good player, is what it's going to be 3 now.
I mean,
like
that 3 though is 3 teams. You know, how many people have to tank just for the 3?
4.
That's a lot.
I just hate the idea of tanking.
I don't love it either.
It's smart, but business-wise, but it's so weak.
Can I make an argument for Chris Paul being the most valuable up there, because he will be in charge
We'd love to hear this.
of being the architect and the help and the catalyst for Wemby to take just yet another step in what ultimately will be the greatest player of all time, probably. So that's a lot of value over there.
You know what's funny is this says, can CP3 get Wemby to be a top 10 player? Newsflash, he already is a top 10 player. He is that good. He is that much of a game.
But listen, last year Wemby didn't get the opportunity to have these plays so easily. Like, you have to respect this mid-range. Chris Paul has made a living in that mid-range. That puts Karl Anthony in the position he has to choose, and you got a 7-footer coming down lane.
God.
Look at Wagner.
Yeah.
You have no idea what to do. I think this is going to be a great 1-2 punch for the San Antonio Spurs. And also, if they can get Vassell to get going.
Look, he's one of the best pick-and-roll players of all time, and now you put him with Wemby, who's going to just his length with him rolling, their wings with Keldon Johnson, Vassell, those guys. I love their rookie too. So like they do have the pieces to continue to develop and to grow.
Playoffs, maybe?
They'd be a really good
play-in. We're going to do that this year.
Really
Playoffs or play-in, it would be a huge success for them to even make the play-in, I think.
I agree.
Okay, so we'll shoot for playoffs. And then if they make the play-in, it's a
Shoot for the stars.
I mean, what? Oh, plus 340 odds.
To what? Make the playoffs?
Make the Western Conference playoffs.
Again, is that the play-in? I need.
Yeah,
is that top 10 or top 8?
That's the playoffs.
That's top 8. So
the
they have to win the
playoffs are
play-in.
the solidified 8 teams.
So it's 8. Play-in is different. So play-in's what? Plus 700.
I wouldn't touch it. You look at the West: Thunder, Mavs, Nuggets, Suns, Mini, Clippers, Pelicans, Kings, Lakers, Warriors, Grizzlies. They're all better.
Forgot about the Pelicans.
We hadn't even spoke about the Grizzlies.
Good
They're all
God,
better.
the Grizzlies. Oh, this is
So it's tough. The only teams that they're really, there's Portland, who's Utah. Like there's only a couple bad teams like this, so it's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough, but it's doable. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, every division we're tackling with you buying that next.
I think I already did the Celtics.
Yeah, you.
Running back, run it up, running back, yeah.
Well, Chandler ruined his part of the segment, so we will skip him, and we will go immediately to Lou about the Boston Celtics. We know that Chandler thinks Jason Tatum's going to be on a revenge tour, MVP, all that stuff that he got embarrassed at the Olympics. Where are you on what the Celtics, and specifically Jason Tatum, are about to do?
As mentioned, he's pissed off. I still think he's one of the 2 top players in the league. You know, obviously that can be interchangeable depending on health. That's going to be a big catalyst in how this season goes. But he's still right there with Luka. He's still right there with SGA, Jokic. You know, and those are the top 4 guys. And then obviously you got the elder statesmen and the LeBrons and the KDs and the Stephs. But right now it's still the world of the young guys. So I still feel like Jason Tatum is a top 5 guy. I'm buying for sure.
What's different about this season, though, is they're not going to have a cakewalk like they did last year. I mean, barring injuries, and they had some fortunate breaks last year. There's 4 to 5 teams that think they are the best team in the Eastern Conference. So this isn't going to be the same path to the finals as it was last year. But
we said that last year, and they ran through everybody. Injuries or not, they still played really good basketball.
They did, and you can't discredit that. I am just saying this year when you look at, and again, we're talking about health. If you look at a fully loaded Philly, if the Knicks stay healthy, if Milwaukee Bucks can Chris Middleton come back? So there's a lot of ifs always.
All of those ifs are for them to compete against the 100%. Boston Celtics.
I am just saying, I think there's 4 to 5 teams in the Eastern Conference that think they can compete with them.
They should. They have to, right? You have to think you can compete with them. And one of those, of course, is the 76ers. We mentioned earlier the Paul George of it all, but he also has said this is the first time that he will be playing with an elite guard and an elite big man.
You hate to hear that as an elite guard, Lou.
I mean, that's okay, Lou. You look hurt. Let's
go to break. We're gonna go to break.
No, I'm just thinking to myself. You know, he had some really good teams in Indiana.
It felt like it.
Also, his roster on the Clippers last year was pretty damn good.
Also, that
I don't
feels
know
like
about
that.
But this is your question.
Is he saying it because he's mad? Is this like an instigation thing?
I just think, again, this is a little bitter pettiness of moving on from it. It's a breakup. Whether however you look at it, it is a breakup, and you don't like your ex. You don't.
No, you love your ex, but she did you wrong.
She did you wrong, and you know it's just.
Or you hate them.
And so again, when I look at his roster last year, and I look at James Harden, he's a pretty good Hall of Fame guard that he played with. Like
he's not bad.
So it's that roster last year. I don't know. Mira, you were riding with the Clippers last year. That was like one of the deepest loaded rosters we'd seen in quite a while. Now they had some injuries and they had some things happen that didn't go their way, but this team again has the potential to be very talented that he's playing with now on 76ers. But that team last year was again pretty damn good.
It does feel like that was a little shade purposely thrown because you're mad.
Without a doubt.
Which I get.
Without a doubt.
I'm not mad at that. Joel Embiid, does he have more pressure than any other star player? You buying that?
Absolutely. Absolutely, and his pressure is going to come from him being healthy and being available. You know, we know what he's capable of doing when he's on the basketball floor. Nobody's questioning that. The question is he healthy enough to get through a season and give them an opportunity to go through a long playoff run? That's where the pressure is going to come in for Joel Embiid. He's reached that status now. Any little thing, whether it's a fingernail or anything, people, they're not holding their breaths anymore. Now they're huffing and puffing. They want him to be healthy. They want him to be on the floor. That's going to be the problem for him.
All right, nothing to say there. Moving on to the Knicks. This is a very strong question for you. Are you buying that the season is a failure if they don't win a championship?
No. As good as they are, again, the Knicks are back. I think last year was a great time for them to kind of get the excitement, get MSG buzzing again. Jalen Brunson had a lot to do with that. Now, when you add a piece like Towns, when you add a piece like Bridges, It's like Phoenix last year. You almost have to give a grace period of a season or two to get to give the chemistry down, to iron out the kinks, to get the offensive flow in place. So when you look at the Eastern Conference this year, a championship. So if they go to Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals and lose in 6 or 7, that's a fail. No chance. I think this team is good. I think this team is on the trajectory to be really good and compete for a championship. I just don't think the pressure of this year or now is it. Now the Phoenix Suns, I think it's this year or now. There's other teams that window is closing. You look at the Knicks; these guys are all going into their prime. These guys could stay together for the next 5 years and be a team to beat in the Eastern Conference. This year, championship or bust, no chance.
Lou, are you buying this is the most talented Knicks roster ever?
Not buying.
That's a good question.
Not buying. I'm old enough to remember Larry Johnson, Pat Ewing,
Grandmama.
Allen Houston, Chris Childs.
Starks.
Sprewell, Starks, I remember those groups. Those are more iconic, more memorable to me in Knicks history than this present group. They still got a lot of work to do. Do they have the potential to be one of those teams that Knicks fans are going to remember forever and ever? Absolutely. But to present day, I don't think they've done enough, so I'm not buying.
I wonder if getting rid of Randall and Dante makes them less, quote-unquote, tough. Do you know what I mean? Like, there was a toughness to those two. They sort of wanted heat.
They still, but they still have Tibbs, and he's still going to instill that. They're still going to grind. They're still. Josh Hart is still going to play 52 minutes in a 48-minute game somehow.
How he does it, I don't know.
They are still going to. And OG, Michelle Beadle, I wouldn't say they're soft.
Personality-wise, they lose a little bit in the wash.
Like the edge.
But yeah, they lose their edge. But I think you put skilled players there.
Yeah, you get more talented, but you get softer. Isn't that funny?
You put a Mikal Bridges there, who's a Swiss Army knife that can get you a bucket, and also he takes pride in how he plays defense. He takes pride in how scrappy he is, how he's able to affect the game just by being in the right places at the right time. So does he have a reputation of being tough? Absolutely not. But basketball world, he's scrappy.
Yeah.
He's in passing lanes. He gives them a different opportunity. He gives them a different look to be one of those teams. So it's different.
Yeah. I was going to go rogue again and talk about Julius Randle. He's got a lot to prove now, too. Now that he's out of New York and he's not in that market and all the kind of been shit on, ran through the mud, everything has been on him in New York. I hope he has a great year, too, in Minnesota because he's got the pieces. He has a chance to really thrive there, too.
So it's
another opportunity just for a guy in a new place that could be really good.
Yeah, we talked all this shit about the Western Conference and never mentioned Anthony Edwards in the Minnesota Timberwolves.
We will.
That's one of those teams.
There will be lots of time to talk about the great Anthony Edwards. Ben Simmons is still in the league. I bet half y'all didn't know that. Biggest question mark, though, of him is, are you buying that he's, what? He's closer to a role player?
I'm just not mature enough to watch my face. Go ahead.
Mature enough.
This is Lou's question.
Is he closer to a role player or an all-star at this point? No, that's a you question.
You answer that, Michelle.
What do you think?
I was just as shocked he was still playing.
Again, I saw he was saying the other day in his media day, and Pat Beverly kind of said it best. It's like Ben Simmons was so good, he was so elite, and everything he's been through the last couple of years, it's like enough talking. Let your game play. And you're young enough, too, now, where if he finds one good season where he can be healthy and he can find value on a awful team in Brooklyn this year, where there should be zero expectations, limited pressure to win, just play, and then possibly he can move on and go be a valuable piece on a good team in the coming years. But he's young enough to still, somehow, some way, be able to fix this. The idea of putting him and tag him as an all-star still or all-NBA, I think that ship has sailed, but he still, I think, can find value on a team.
Like, he still has a chance.
It's just crazy. Think about how good was he that we're still talking about him 3 years later after.
Without having talked about him forever.
Like
Plus, they'll be tanking, so it'll be interesting to see what that team looks like by the end.
We would love for Ben Simmons to be a great role player.
Sure.
That'd be a great start to a great comeback story.
Because you could still have a good career.
The answer to the question, the answer is role player.
Yes, he's closer to a role player than an all-star.
Which is fine, by the way. It's what he is.
The game changes, and that opportunity for you to be an all-star, it's a small window for you to be considered that. That window is closed for Ben Simmons. So now for him to have all of these health issues, have all of these reputation issues, we just want you to be back on the floor, be healthy, and be one of those guys on a team that can give something, to the effect of winning a basketball game. Other than that, don't put expectations on yourself. Just go out and compete the best you can and be a great role player.
Us talking about him is again, it's putting more expectation, more light on him. Just play.
And some of that is Ben Simmons. Just play. Go out and hoop.
Just play. Up north, you buying the Raptors should build around Scotty Barnes and R.J. Barrett, Lou.
I'll take it. I mean, they have to. What else are they going to do? I do love Scotty Barnes. I think RJ Barrett's a young piece that can continue to get better, but this is just the situation that they're in. What's their alternative to completely trade everybody and get picks and
then what?
Yeah, it's just a tough spot.
What about playoffs? Can they get?
No chance.
Really not? Okay.
No chance.
Let's count it.
Celtics, Knicks, Philly, Bucks, Pacers, Cavs, Magic, Heat, Hawks.
Hawks.
I'm just saying, like, those are the top 9.
Okay.
9 to 15 is pretty bad in the East.
It's quiet for the Raptors.
Charlotte, Washington, like they're pretty bad.
It's quiet.
It's quiet. There's a better shot.
But by the way, they could, I guess, make the
play in. Yeah, you could maybe.
Yeah, 10 seed is quiet.
10 seed doesn't even sound right.
I like that attitude. All right, take a quick break. When we come back, we run it back to the future. Prediction. Is this predictions?
We already did this.
We predicted everything.
I predicted it all. It's all done.
I'm so glad.
Run it up, run it back, run it up, run it back, run it up.
All right, we might as well do this now. This is my favorite part of any sports season, is like the before, just trying to get, like, for example, I took Dodgers Yankees before the season started to go to the World Series.
Pick.
Right now, I'm still alive, so that's cool. So we want to do that in the basketball world. The Eastern Conference, we can throw some odds up maybe, perhaps, but we've talked a lot of Celtics. Obviously, they're at the top there. Which non-favorite, though, is your call here, Chandler?
It's got to be the Knicks. I hate to just take the easy way out there, the second option there at plus 380. I think it's going to be Boston Celtics. What they did last year, how good they are on both sides of the ball. I think it is, they are just primed to do it again. But outside of them, the more interesting question would be, like, would you take the Boston Celtics to win the East or the field? Like that would then confuse me a little bit, but yeah, I gotta go with the Knicks being second and Boston to win the East.
I like to hit home runs when I gamble, so I go to Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah, now we're talking.
I like my parlays to hit really hard.
Me too, Lou.
I'm a plus 650 type of guy.
Me too.
I shoot for the stars. So
I'm not doing this.
Singles.
He likes to make like, oh, I made like $100 here. No, I want to win all of it in one bet. Or lose all of it. But
so give me the Milwaukee Bucks outside of the Boston Celtics.
All right, I like that. That was it. All right, we did it. Our first show in the can.
I got so many more predickies.
Oh, good. Well, at least we have 1,000 more shows. Boogie Cousins tomorrow.
Sir.
We are back. See y'all bright and early.
Run it back, run it up, run it up, run it back, run it up, run it back, run it up, run it back, run it up.